Hello and welcome to this Knox Medical tutorial on creating signal layouts. Step 1, we're going to open one of our studies from our recording library. Now the signal layouts or the signal sheets are our montages of how the data is going to appear when we're looking at raw data. You can see that the screen opens up to your summary page, but we will go up to File and click on Add Sheet. And then you will see that there are several options. The first four are pre-formatted options: PSG, pulse oximeter, and respiratory. And then at the bottom you have some options for adding a brand new sheet, one with all of the recorded signals included and one that is empty, and you can add each of the signals that you want on your own. For today I'm going to use respiratory as our base sheet, and then we will add and remove some signals from that. You can add or remove signals in a couple of different ways. So the top signal here, body position, I'm going to remove that for now. I want to look at it in a different way, and I will add that back later. So I can remove this by right-clicking and saying to remove the signal, or I can go over to the right-hand side of the page and click on Signals and Data, and then select each one of the items that I want to see or don't want to see. I'm going to add rip phase to our signals and keep oximetry, keep our efforts, pulse, all of those things. So that looks pretty good. Now I want to arrange the signals in the way that I want to view them. I'm a person who likes to see the rip phase down below our efforts. So I just click and drag on that channel and I can move it wherever I want. For activity, I like that being at the top. Oximetry, I want to move up under activity, so I'm going to move that all the way up. Then I'll have our audio volume, flow, efforts, rip phase, rip flow, I will drag up under our other flow, and then I'll leave pulse at the bottom. So this is the basic view that I like to see a study in. I can also set the amount of information that is on the page at each time. I can set that at 2 minutes if I want to see it more zoomed, or I can look at it more compressed with a 5-minute window. From here, I want to arrange how I see the data on the page. Like my oximetry, I can right-click on the oximetry channel and go down to Properties, and it will bring up the properties of that channel, or I can just double-click on the channel and it will bring up the same properties window. It will let me see how big the channel is. I'm going to look at it at about 100 pixels, and that will resize it, as you can see there. And I'm going to set my high axis or my high end at 105, and then I want to see the low axis as 70%. And you can see that that will change the scale here on the left hand side of what's viewed on the page. I set the high axis at 105 so that my 100 is clearly visible within the channel limits. You can also make some changes to the signal. You can clip the signal, which means you're not going to allow it to travel outside of the channel range. And then also check to show the values. That's what's going to show you these digital values at the top of the line graph. That is pretty much what I want to see on my oximetry channel, so I'll say OK now. The other channel that I want to adjust is my rip phase. So I will double click on that channel and bring up my parameters again. Now rip phase is how much your efforts are in line or out of line, or in phase or out of phase. So completely out of phase would be a 180-degree signal, and then completely in phase would be a 0-degree signal. I want to increase the size of that channel a little bit so that I can view it better. And then I want to adjust my signal. I again want to clip it so that it does not travel out of the channel range. And in this case, I want to apply a fill plot. And I will show you what that means here as we apply and say OK. So since I've applied a fill plot, now you can see that when the channel is almost in phase, that it is very low and it is colored in the lower part of our graph. But then when these channels are out of phase, like they would be during this period of events, you can see that increase in the plot, and it makes it very clear to have it colored in when you're looking at the value this way. One other thing to look at on these channels when you bring up their properties are this item here, exclude when scaling all. We can auto scale all of our channels, and there are certain channels like rip phase or our oximetry that we want to make sure that we check to exclude when we rescale all the channels. So we say OK there. Now I can go to the top of the page and click on Scale All, and it will automatically rescale all of the channels to fit within their channel range. We can also say Fit All, and that will fit them within the parameters of their channel. There are a couple of other things that we can do to make channel manipulation more efficient. If we look at our effort channels here, you can see that right now we have two separate effort channels, and they can be individually dragged around. Well, if we wanted those to act the same, since they are both the same parameter of effort, we can right-click on them and then go down and select Group Signals of Same Type. This will group the two effort channels together, and now if we click and drag to move them, they will both move and act the same. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I took off our body position because I wanted to look at that a different way. If we go up and click on View, we have some other views here that we can select. Position and activity is one of them, and I'm going to click on that. That will open at the top of the page the body position currently, and then the activity level, and that will run as we go. We can add more if we would like by clicking the plus sign, and I'll add, say, flow volume loops so that we can look at the breath by breath flow volume loops for every breath that's on the current epoch. We can resize those just by clicking and dragging and moving those around. So say now this is what we want to see, and this is what we're happy with, and we want to save it for future use. I'll go up to the respiratory tab and right click. I will go down and say to save the sheet layout as, and I can name it My Respiratory, and click Save. Now at the top of the page you can see that My Respiratory is now the name of the page, and this page will be available for us to open and use anytime that we look at other recordings from here on. We can also manipulate these sheet properties by right-clicking and on the tab and going down to Properties. Here we can look at the color of our major grid if we wanted to add a minor grid. Our major grid is our 30-second epochs that we have selected here. That 30 seconds can be changed on our Workspace page, but 30 seconds is the standard, so we'll leave it there. We can also change our background color. Sometimes the white is a little hard on our eyes to look at, so we could save an off-white color. I'll click Apply here, and you can see that it will change. Those colors are customizable as on any Windows software, and you can change those colors to your liking and save those. I'll click OK, and now that we have made a change, we'll go back to My Respiratory tab. We will right-click again, and we will save update the saved layout to the changes that we made. If we are working in a study and we make changes that we do not want to save, we can right-click on the My Respiratory tab and say Revert to the saved layout, and it'll take it back to when we last saved that worksheet. Once your montage sheet has been completed and saved, you can actually close that, and then on any new study or even on this study you can reopen it or add it by moving to the worksheet icon, clicking on Add Sheet, and then you'll see the My Respiratory sheet that we just saved available as an option. Finally, once you have created all the sheets you would like and arranged your workspace as you would like, you can save that as its own workspace by clicking on the workspace icon, clicking New Workspace Layout, and then naming it. Leaving the Copy Current Layout box selected will default your new layout name to the current space that you created. Click OK. Now you can go to Devices, your recording types, select a recording type, and you can select the workspace layout that you just created, My Default Layout, for that recording type. Click OK, and this workspace has been defaulted to any new recording that is done on that recording type. Thank you for watching this tutorial on creating signal layouts. We hope that it was helpful.